my dears, today we are going to talk about stims and tics and habits and compulsions. Oh my. Before we get started, I just want to mention that when I talk about tics, mine happen more. Like that. There you go. I'm just warning you in advance. I'm okay. This just happens. So, first of all, which one is which? We're going to use the example of tapping your foot, which I took from somewhere, and I don't remember where, so shout out to those people, whoever they are. I'm so sorry. Now, a habit is when you tap your foot, somebody asks you to stop, you do, and you feel no ill effects. That's it. A compulsion is when you tap your foot, somebody asks you to stop, and you can't, because if you do, something bad will happen. And you may know that that's irrational, but not doing it gives you a lot of anxiety. A tic is when you tap your foot, somebody asks you to stop, and you can't because it feels like holding in a sneeze. Or if you do stop, it comes out in an even less controllable action. A stim is when you tap your foot, somebody asks you to stop, you do, and then you immediately feel worse physically and emotionally, and a bit stifled. So let's talk about tics first, which are kind of like a sneeze. You very rarely have control over them, if at all. And a lot of people think that only people with Tourette syndrome have tics, but they're actually really common in most neurodivergent people, and even some neurotypicals. Tourette's is specifically describing complex tics, which include several muscle groups. So for example, my head twitching tic, ow, is considered a simple tic. If it were a head twitch followed by a leg flinch or a vocal noise, that would be more in the complex tic category. And we don't need to talk too much about diagnostic criteria, but when I learned that I had tics, I was really confused, and I researched the difference, so now you know as well. Now for me, my tics worsen when I am very exhausted or very stressed, or both. And typically in those situations, I can't get out all of my energy by stimming, either because there's too much energy to be able to get out, or I'm simply too tired to stim, so then that makes me tic more frequently. Earlier this year, I had a late night class from 8 to 10:30, and I ticked the entire class. Every single class was just a massive tic attack because I was too tired to stim, but I need to stim to focus, and it was just an experience that I don't want to repeat. I was also in a play this spring that was filmed, and during a break at like 10 p.m. in the middle of tech week when I was just exhausted, I had my camera still rolling and I accidentally caught a tic attack. So here is what one looks like. Now, if you don't know a person, it can be hard to tell if something is a stim or a tic because every single person has different ones, and something that's a tic for me could be a stim for somebody else or vice versa. Also, you may have noticed from that clip, sometimes some of my tics hurt, especially the jaw twitch one because sometimes it just dislocates my jaw, which is obviously rather unpleasant. Now, for those of you who've been following my Instagram for a while, if not, you can follow me at Disabled Autistic Lesbian. I posted a thing on my story a month or so ago about how I had this throat clearing tic that happens more when I sing, and it was messing with my voice and my ability to train. And so I was able to work on training myself with a replacement behavior to put that tic energy into a different tic that didn't destroy my voice and actually helped it, and that made me vocally train a lot better. So in general, tics are beautiful and you shouldn't feel the need to get rid of them or change them, but if you have one that's directly negatively affecting your daily life or is physically super painful, with a good deal of work and energy, you can channel it into something that doesn't hurt or impede your life. But anyway, let's move on to stims. Stims are something that we have control over, but often need to do to help focus, to regulate our nervous systems, release a buildup of energy, regulate emotions when we have an emotional overload, and sometimes we just do it for no apparent reason at all. Stimming is also something that neurotypicals occasionally do, but it's significantly more common in neurodivergent people. Now, each individual has their own set of stims, and we will go into what stims can look like in a little bit. And sometimes we actually share them with each other. Like, I'll give somebody a stim and they'll give me a different one back that I've never done before. We also show different emotions with different stims. For example, if you know me well enough, you know that there is a clear distinction between happy flaps, normal regulation flaps, and anxious flaps. For those of you with autistic partners and or friends, learn which stim is which, and they will love you forever, I promise you. And each individual set is different, so an anxious stim for me could be a happy stim for someone else. So if you know that a certain stim means that your friend is about to have a meltdown and you see a stranger do the same stim in public, don't panic because everybody stims differently and they could actually be showing that they're happy. Unless that they are showing obvious distress by crying, screaming, etc., in which case you should see if anybody else around them is helping, and if not, go see what you can do to assist. If you want to learn how to deal with meltdowns, you can check out this video over here, but if not, just leave us alone and don't stare because we're just living our lives. Whenever I see a fellow autistic person stimming in public, I usually flap my hands when I pass them so that they know that they're not alone. It's my own little kindred spirit thing to do, and I think that every autistic person should adopt that with each other. I think it's adorable. Please make it happen. I also saw something recently that said that not every autistic person stims, and for a moment I was like, yes, I completely support this. But then I realized that I thought I didn't stim too until I learned that stims aren't just rocking back and forth and flapping your hands up and down and clenching your fists. It's also staring or zoning in on something, playing the same song on repeat, touching different textures, bouncing your leg, fiddling with objects, twisting your earrings, petting an animal, clearing your throat repeatedly, scratching your skin, folding paper, smelling things, tasting certain flavors or textures, organizing things, clicking your tongue, walking on tiptoes, jumping up and down, doing little happy squeals, twirling your hair, finger drumming, screaming, repeating the same word, pressure therapy, chewing the inside of your cheek, singing constantly, playing with water, random dancing, and so many more things that I can't even think of right now. Some people even use sex as a form of stimming, and there's also loads of stim toys for all kinds of textures and sensory experiences to aid with stimming. Now, famously, Anthony Hopkins, who recently won Best Actor in an Oscar, I think. He's known for his role as Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. He learned he was autistic at the age of 77, and he stims by rubbing his hands together. So to all of you who think, I don't stim, I must not be autistic, you're likely thinking of the stereotypes of stimming and not necessarily all of the stims that are out there. It's also important to mention that not all stims are beautiful. There are ugly stims, and that is okay too. All stims are great and valid and worthy because if they help you regulate, if they help you to do what you need to do, they are perfect. So if we can control our stims, what happens if we don't stim? That's a great question, imaginary person. Stim suppression typically results in an increased level of exhaustion, increased levels of anxiety and irritability and aggression. It also decreases our ability to focus or process new information and situations, and as a result, increases our likelihood of shutdowns, meltdowns, and temporarily losing skills such as speech. So, long story short, let us stim. Now, I often get asked about what to do if somebody else's stim is annoying or embarrassing. And first of all, if their stim is embarrassing, you have other things to deal with, mainly internalized ableism, so let them stim while you go handle that, and then once it's handled, you'll be cool with them stimming, and there, your problem is solved. But it's also important to acknowledge that autism does run in families, which means that your kid may have a stim that sends you, the parent, into a meltdown. And that's not ideal for anybody involved. In that case, if you are unable to find other ways to cope with it, i.e. noise-canceling headphones or leaving the room, etc., sit down with your kid. Any age, they understand these things. Have a conversation and explain that their stim is important and that you love that they're getting out their energy in the way that they enjoy, but that particular stim is really hard for you, and then you guys can pick a new stim to do instead together, and that one can become a shared stim. So when they do the overwhelming one, you can just do the shared stim back, and then they'll switch, and then you'll two have bonded. Yay! But also only do that in the most severe of situations where you have absolutely no choice, because I cannot express how damaging and traumatizing it can be to be told that your stim is wrong or bad or asked to change it. It's fundamentally how we express ourselves. So by saying that the way that we express ourselves is annoying or embarrassing to you, it tells us that we as people are effectively annoying and embarrassing to you. So just keep that in mind when you're commenting on it. Now, I hope that you've learned a thing or two from this. Feel free to subscribe and like and all those things. I don't often say that, but I should. To my autistic people, what's your favorite stim? We can make a little stim list in the comments for people to get new ideas, and it'll be a lovely little community project. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for learning. Remember, your story isn't over. It is only just begun. I hope you have a happy, flappy day. Ooh, I should add that all the other times. Yes. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.